What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Drake.
What is up?
Uh,
What is going on,
or
everyone?
maybe he's up above me, or maybe he's below me, or to my left. I don't know, or my right. Maybe I have no
It's
idea.
Maddie fucking Smokes.
It's your boy Liam Vapes up in this bitch. Um, no, we got so today. Welcome back to another podcast of the Faster Tadpoles. With us, we got my good friend Sean
What's
here.
up, everyone?
He is very health conscious.
Oh,
Um,
I thought you were gonna say
and he
sexy because
is.
let's be honest.
I,
Let's I mean,
I
come
didn't
on
think I
now.
needed to say that. I didn't think I needed to say that at all.
Do that.
Um,
And for
Mm.
everyone seeing, by the way, Drake for the first time, Drake on video camera for the first time. Besides our
second
in-person
time.
episode,
Yeah,
second time now. Yeah, of course.
you're
Obviously,
right.
he finally got his finally got his welfare check-in, so he can get a camera. Thankfully, so
Yep, that came in. But so today, this episode where we are figuring we talk about actually like working out, exercise, eating healthy, whatnot, things like that.
something that
Um,
everyone clearly sees in the video, I don't do. So
Definitely. But yeah, it's good because Sean here knows quite a lot. He's been doing it for a very long time, and he is got
And I love talking
aspirations.
about it.
Yeah, definitely. He's
perfect.
got aspirations to be a personal trainer and a nutritionist for anybody, um, as well. So
Well, yeah. Hopefully, Sean, you can
can't wait.
spread the knowledge to us here. Be interesting to hear what you have to say, whatever, and looking forward to learning some stuff along the way about health and fitness, which is kind of, I mean, let's be honest. For me, it's besides walking on a treadmill, more or less, might as well be traversing the moon. So that's kind of
Well, I'll
how it
tell
is.
you, it's easier than you might think. A lot of people. The thing is that so much of what is taught of how you're gonna get fit, how you're gonna get whatever goal you want, when you're online, everything that you see is created in order to get as many views as possible. So
Okay.
in a way, some of the stuff they say is true, but it's like manipulative in a way, where it's true to an extent, but it's like not not true enough to be of practical use to the average person. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like the classic examples of it are like the one trick schemes where it's like with this one trick you can change everything. With this, eat this one food and it'll change your life. And
And I'm
it'll
gonna be
always be
honest.
something stupid like or avocados was one of them. I had a friend who went on a pure avocado diet because she thought
Oh,
that yeah, this was like a few years ago, and she was trying to shed some pounds, and she read about this like one trick diet that's like some influencer had ate nothing but avocados in all kinds of different forms, whether it's blending it or just whatever, because drinking it is easier.
mm,
And she lost a whole bunch of weight. And so my friend tried this and ate nothing but avocados for a month. It was torture for her. She ended up losing 15 pounds actually, which is pretty decent, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And then she started eating just normal food again. And within 1 week, all of it came back. And I was like, yeah, dude. The thing is things, schemes like that will basically tell you to do something like just eat one food because not because that one food makes you skinnier, but they're trying to trick you into being into a calorie deficit without you realizing it. Because there's no way
Oh,
you
okay.
can overeat unless you're eating like, I don't know, like 10 pounds of avocados in a single day, which no one
Yeah.
can do.
yeah, that's a lot. um, Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You see that all the time on even in just like advertisements on Instagram or Snapchat or YouTube or anything like that. You get these guys that say, "Oh, do this one trick and you'll instantly see gains," or
Yeah.
eat this one thing and and
The
I've looked in those before, but at least I know enough. I've followed working out here and there, and I keep along with it enough to like know what I need to do. It's just that I need to actually have the determination to do it.
yeah.
Um,
Well, when it comes down to it, any single type of diet that people will tell you, whether it's the keto diet, whether it's like intermittent fasting as a strategy, no matter what type of road you try to go down in order to lose weight, let's say, it all just boils down to calorie surplus or calorie deficit. It's a lot. easier, or it's a lot simpler than what the internet makes it out to be. But the problem is that people think that counting calories is like the hardest thing ever. Most people don't truly understand what a calorie is
Mhm.
or the makeup of calories, like macronutrient wise in foods, and they just hate the idea of having to count
Yep.
their calories so much that
Yep,
they
that
would
little
literally
that
rather eat avocados for a month straight than count their calories and eat whatever they want.
right. Yeah, that's my little calorie book right there. What I mark down, what I eat and whatnot. So I can count.
Nice,
So
nice.
I'm in a slow cut right now. But speaking on that calories and whatnot, let's jump into calories. Like, so what exactly are we talking about when somebody says, "Oh, calories"? You want to be in a calorie deficit. You want to be in a calorie positive. Like what exactly is that? What are macros? What are micros? Like, what are things that you really should be focusing on, and then what are things you don't really need to focus on at all? Different
So
kinds of stuff like that.
simply put, you can think of calories as energy. Calories are fuel for human beings.
Mm-hmm.
If you run out of fuel, you will starvation is. So how our body prevents us from running out of fuel is whenever we consume calories, whatever we don't end up using gets stored away for later use so that we can use it in an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And the let's see. And basically we all burn on average a certain amount of calories every day. I mean, it's going to be different every day because some days you're more active than other days. But if you were to record somehow all the calories that you burned every single day, you would probably notice that more or less there's like an average number, and that number is what's called people call it TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure. For example, my total daily energy expenditure is right around 2,400 calories.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is true because if I eat even 100 calories above 2,400, I will notice a consistently slow increase in weight. And if I eat 200 calories below 2,400, I will notice a slow, steady decrease in weight, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then when it comes to macros, so I, the way I see it, calories are king, macros are queen. And what I mean by that is that at the end of the day, if you want to gain or lose weight, it will boil down to your calories.
Mm-hmm.
But the type of weight you lose depends on your macros because whether you like it or not, every pound you gain and every pound you lose is going to be a ratio of fat and muscle. So when you lose a pound, it could be 50% fat and 50% muscle. When you gain a pound, it could be the same way. But if you can balance your macronutrients, for example, and the best way, in my opinion, is to have a high protein and low fat diet. When you do that, then as you gain or lose weight, you'll notice an optimization of
Mm-hmm.
muscle over fat for weight gain and fat over muscle for weight loss.
Weight loss. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Speaking of fat, then you always see like different kinds of fats in food that you see, whether it's trans fat, saturated fat, and then non-saturated fat. Like, is it bad? Do you want to stay away from all three of those? Is one of those good and the other's bad, or like are all three fine? Can you just eat whatever kind of fat you want and just limit the amount that you're taking in?
You're going to want to mostly focus on unsaturated fat. Trans fat is horrible for you, saturated fat is bad for you. The difference between saturated and non-saturated fat, the easiest way I can explain it is fats that can turn solid at room temperature, like let's say what's an example of one? It's like if you've ever had something in the fridge, like even like a soup or something, and you take
Yeah.
it out and there's like chunks of fat in there,
Like
that's
bacon
like
grease, right?
exactly
Yeah.
like bacon grease.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
saturated fat, and it turns into a solid at room temperature or below. But then non-saturated fats, they usually stay melted or liquidy.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay.
But in terms of
So
and
that would be the difference between bacon grease and say uh like natural peanut butter, where the natural peanut butter has like that natural oils and fat that sits at the top of the peanut butter, kind of that you gotta stir it before you.
exactly, and I could be spitballing here because I've never actually tested this, but
Mhm.
it's like bacon grease that'll solidify in like room temperature, right?
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah,
leave it
yeah,
on your
Yeah.
if your frying pan gets temperature and it's been on the stove for like however many hours, you'll notice that it starts to solidify. But
yeah. I dump that
olive oil won't
in
do
a
that.
can. Yeah, right.
Okay.
So okay, so olive
Right.
oil counts as a fat then?
Olive oil is like all fat. If you ever look at the nutrition label on olive
Mhm.
oil, you'll see that it's like 75 to 90% fat.
Gotcha. So then olive oil's super good to just cook with.
Like that's why everything fat is what makes food taste delicious,
Yeah.
honestly. That's why
I
the
was gonna say,
best tasting foods have the highest amount of fat.
yeah. Whenever like I want to make an amazing fucking burger, I'll take some because like I said, I cook my bacon, and then I take the fat and I dump it into like an old like soup can or whatnot, and then sometimes I'll take a little bit of that fat left over and put it on the griddle as I cook my burger in it. You know, so it's I
That
mean
sounds delicious,
it's
honestly.
saturated fat, so it's like not the best, but holy shit, is it fucking good? It's delicious.
Honestly,
So
when it comes to like muscle building and weight gain and weight loss, though,
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily matter what kind of fat you consume. The type of fat you consume is going to affect your health, like
Right.
your
So like
nutritional
with
health.
like
Because
yeah,
you can
like
still have a six pack and be unhealthy.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know that might sound
like
weird, but like
vein and artery health, right? Like clogged veins, clogged arteries.
yeah.
you could still have a six pack and eat a bunch of trans fat, but then you're more likely to have a heart attack. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So I wanted to piggyback something that you had said recently that I was curious about, and that is so you know your daily calorie intake or what you're expending energy wise. So how would
Right.
one be able to measure that for someone like me who's never even tried to know what uh, you know a generic day of work or a generic day, you know what
Right.
I mean? How would you be able
It's
to calculate that?
it's actually pretty easy, and I know it sounds like something that would be incalculable almost, but I can tell you that the number that I have 2400, I would say it's about like 90 to 95% accurate. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but it's going to be close enough that you'll be able to use it to your advantage when you're gaining or losing weight. And how you can tell is well, there's several different ways. Some people go to I don't know if you guys over there have like NutriShop and things like that, but
We have like
they used to
yeah, there's
have this thing
DNC.
where they would go into the parking lot and leave their card on your car and try to get you to come in for like a free biometric scan. And then the biometric scan will be able to tell you things like what your BMR is, which so two things to consider for your total daily energy expenditures is there is your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, and then your total daily energy expenditure. Now, what your BMR is how many bodies your calorie burns to just function and stay alive. So
Okay.
I think my BMR is about like 1600. So that means that even if I was comatose and I was a vegetable just lying in bed all day, I would still burn 1600 calories just for my bodily functions.
Mm,
Any activity that I add on top of that will equal out to my total daily energy expenditure, which is my BMR plus my activity. And oh, and the easiest way to figure out your TDEE is honestly, there's a go on Google, type in TDEE calculator, and there'll be 100 websites you can go to, and you'd find that if you were to, they'll have a calculator where you enter in things like your height, your weight, and the amount of hours per week that you are active. So I go to the gym like 4 days a week. So my level of activity is classified as moderate, which is 4 to 6 hours a week. And if you were to go across all these different websites and try them all out, you'd find that it's almost like exactly the same.
okay.
So, pretty easy way to figure it out for most
Okay.
people.
That's good to know. Yeah, because it's something that I would be interested in, just kind of knowing what my daily would be. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with
And
you
then,
know, I think that well, at least recently I've definitely been in a deficit. I've definitely been eating a lot less, but there's one thing about me, and that's I just love food. You know what I mean? I'm a food lover at heart. I love all different types of food. Don't shake your head at me. You're a Dr. You're a Dr. Pepper, dude. You're a Dr. Pepper lover. Um,
I can't say no to Dr Pepper.
Drake likes his
So
DP. What can I say?
You
oh
know,
yeah,
DP likes his DP.
he's
You
a
know,
DP boy all day long. Yeah, so for me, I'm just trying to find that balance. I'm never going to be someone who's going to be a bodybuilder. Truth be told, and unfortunately, where I live, Sean, we don't have gyms. We don't. I live in a very remote town. Remote meaning like I think 7,500 people. This is where my wife grew up, so I moved out here with her. But we don't have a gym. We don't have anything. It's all kind of what you would do by yourself. But um, I kind of like that because I'm more of an outdoorsy person, anyways. So
Okay.
it's all
There
about
are
finding that
ways.
balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are ways, but it will be more difficult without a gym. But I will say that getting toned and or bulking up a little bit and gaining a little bit of muscle, you don't necessarily have to have the gym to do that. Like the average person can do that with just a little bit of exercise and activity. But if you're trying, but you're right. If you're trying to go for like a bodybuilder and you're trying to like put on like a massive amount of muscle or get super shredded, it's possible, but it's very difficult if you don't
Yeah.
have resistance training of some kind.
Yeah, like we have our basic like my wife and I have in our garage that we have here. We have an elliptical, we have a treadmill, we have some free weights and stuff here and there. Stuff that you use to maintain physical activity, but nothing obviously that would get you to heavy bodybuilding and stuff. But it's all stuff that I think over time, with consistent use get me get me down. But and that's another thing too, which we were piggybacking off of just now was the calories. Like for me, keeping track of calories, like at least I know in the last few weeks I've definitely been in a deficit every week because I've just been not been eating like crazy. But um,
Mm.
so my daily expenditure has definitely been more than what I would be eating on a daily basis. So like I've definitely seen the scale drop a little bit, but that's just because of how it is. But it changes, especially in the summertime. I mean, summertime, we're always eating big meals at the cabin, and we're always doing big meals here and there and stuff. And we just my wife's a pasta lover,
Right,
so unfortunately we're eating tons of Alfredos and spaghettis and stuff and lasagnas.
nice,
So
nice.
so
which
it can be
carbohydrates, man. If you are bulking up, carbohydrates are pretty good for you.
It's
You
good,
know,
but I think too many people are scared of. Some people are more or less carb tolerant or intolerant than other people, but
Well, there's that whole
in
thing back in like the '90s and the early 2000s where everybody's saying carbs are super bad for you, and that's why you're getting fat and
mm,
gaining weight and
well
whatnot.
in
Yeah,
in the 90s there was a big how do I explain it? A lot of people in the 90s were afraid of fat. There was like a
right.
trend
Oh
that
yeah,
happened in
yeah.
the 90s
That was all
where
because
some
of
people were eating
one guy.
almost
It was all
go
because
ahead.
yeah, one guy, one scientist went around and like cherry picked evidence for like fat, fat eating, and then um correlation of I think it was heart attacks. I want to say, um, and just shows directly stating that eating fat is 100% what's causing these heartaches, these heart attacks. I think it was, and he was cherry picking a lot of the evidence, and then he would go to locations like Greece or Japan, and he would show like, oh, there's a lot less heart attacks here, and they're eating a lot less fat here. There's a correlation to it, but in reality, with that correlation isn't causation. It had to do with
Right.
the amount of
There's a lot of
exercise.
variables
Yeah,
when it
yeah,
comes to that.
yeah, it wasn't just that. It was like the amount of exercise people in Greece and Japan have
Hmm.
a lot more exercise because of walking than like people in America would, and
Right.
like CEOs
Right.
of companies like these people that were having the heart attacks.
And a lot of research can be hard to trust because
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I found really surprising when I started to really like when I was doing a lot of research and I've been working out for like 15 years probably. And probably for like 70% of those 15 years, um, I didn't know what I was doing. And I realized that I was like, I was making slow progress, but for the amount of effort that I was putting in and the amount of time I was putting in, what I was getting back in return was like laughable. And
Mm-hmm.
but in hindsight, what I was getting, the laughable amount of gains that I was getting for the effort that I was putting in is kind of what the average person gets. Like
Right.
even back then, I think I'd consider myself. more knowledgeable than the average person when it came to it, and now I realize I didn't know anything back then.
Right.
Yeah, and
Well,
like
it's not.
that makes sense. Like my younger brother Tyler, that Drake and I know really well. He has done that for almost 5 years now. I'd say Drake. Hey, he was going to the gym routinely every day, and not only hurting himself because he doesn't know what he's doing and doing things wrong. And I love the kid or whatever, but he was hurting himself for doing things wrong. But we just never seen any growth in his muscles. Now,
Didn't
Right.
gain. He was stayed at 120 the entire time.
for me,
He's
the
six
Pretty
foot
light.
two. I think he is right. 6'1".
no, he's 5'11", 5'10".
Are you
That's
sure?
pretty light for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Either way, still like even if he was, he's got to be 6 foot. There's no way he's 5'11". He's
He's
more than
he's
6'11".
not he's not
He
he's
has terrible posture.
yeah, terrible
Terrible
posture.
posture.
He had really bad scoliosis. So.
Scoliosis. Yeah.
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
But
But he has the hunched forward shoulders and the real forward neck. Like that a lot. Which is something I hunch my shoulders forward a lot, because that's just how I always was. So I just have to always consciously try to pull my shoulders and my head back to like
yeah, because
fix
you're a
that,
freaking primate.
right? Well, dude, I get it. Start typing on my computer.
so for
pour it out.
for me it's I'm a really big guy, and that's just how as a human I'm built.
Oh,
Um
yeah. I'm just a big ass fucking dude. And I'm built as fuck. He said.
well I didn't no, what I'm saying is I'm built as a heavy guy. I just always have been.
Yeah, no, you're
It's just
definitely
how
a
I
big dude. How
Yeah.
tall are you?
I'm
Sitting at
6'3".
6'3", right? Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
6'3".
Wow.
6'3", and as of last night 278. So
Okay.
and so like
Yeah,
I played football.
also-
I played football back in high school, and I was, everyone wants to get down to the high school weight. I don't think I'll ever get to there, but I would like to get somewhere where
Oh wait.
I would like to get to where I'm more comfortable. I'd like to get down to even 40 pounds. 40 pounds or 50 would be nice. You know what I mean? Because I do have the muscle is there. I definitely think the muscle is there, but I would definitely like to tone things up. You know what I mean? That's just kind of
Now,
how I want to be. So
I'll tell you, man. If you count your calories, even if you don't go to the gym, the the gym is only for either in regards to bodybuilding. The gym is only for either gaining muscle while you're gaining weight or preserving muscle while you're losing weight. But when it comes to strictly just weight gain or weight loss, that's all in your calories. You don't have to go to
okay,
the gym to lose or gain weight. You just have to go to the gym if you want to control your body composition, which is your muscle to fat ratio and your body fat percentage. But if you maintain the deficit, so you said that you were 6'3" and 275?
yeah, like 278 right now. Yep, 278.
278. If I had to guess, I would say that your cutting calories are probably going to be between like 2200 to 2400 calories. And your TDEE is probably around like, I don't know, like maybe like 25 to 2800 calories. 28 is kind of on the higher side, but I'm 5'8" and I'm 150 right now, but I grew up as an endomorph, which is like a skinny guy. I came into
Yeah,
high school weighing 98 pounds,
Yeah.
and I
yeah,
was a hard gainer for sure. And just like your brother, I was
Yeah.
spinning my wheels forever. And one simple thing, one of the most biggest important things that I learned was you can't gain a pound of muscle if you lose a pound of body weight. And I was barely eating. Drake knows in high
Yeah.
school, and I was just never hungry. I could just like snack lightly throughout the day, and then kind of eat a big dinner at night. After school, we would go to like In and Out or something, and we'd
Yeah.
eat like
We
a
go.
4x4.
Yeah, we
yeah,
eat there, but I mean, we were
And
running
that would be
around
my
so
first
much,
meal a
and
lot of the times.
yeah, we were running around so much doing a bunch of stuff. I mean, food at school
Yeah,
was never like a good thing. Obviously,
yeah.
that stuff
I
sucks. So you never really wanted to eat that there.
I do blame Drake though for my weight loss, because him and I were, or my weight gain when I was younger, because him and I would hang out and play all day long for, you know how he is. We'll hang out and play for 12 hours straight and shit, and then he moves away, and I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna keep eating the same amount that I ate with Drake when he was here,
Yeah,
but I'm just
but
not
just
gonna
not.
do anything. You know what I mean?
I'm not
So
gonna go
that's
out. Yeah, we're not gonna go out and run through the forest, through the woods and
yeah,
shit, and
yeah, yeah.
crunch fucking logs.
No,
You
but
know.
now I have a question. So what in terms of exercise now, like I Drake can attest to this. I have recently started to focus on getting on the treadmill, getting on the elliptical, at least if I can, a half an hour to an hour every morning. Do you think, uh, in terms of your expertise, would you recommend any other time of the day, like after work? I mean, honest, let's be honest. When I'm off of work, I'm exhausted. And most of us people are, like, we're all tired. But I find waking up an hour earlier, I feel more refreshed after I run on the treadmill or go for a bike ride or whatever. So, for you, do you think that is the proper way, or am I doing it all wrong?
No, no. So from what I've read, it doesn't really matter when in the day you do it, although the science behind that. So one thing that surprised me when I was learning everything that I was learning is that there is surprisingly way less research on fitness than you might realize. And up until like a few decades ago, we barely had anything. And there's still a lot of things that haven't been truly tried and tested through research, or they've had only like one or two cases where the parameters of the study was like kind of not standard for the average
Mhm.
person. So it could be very misleading, but they do say, and I have read that although there's no science that can really prove that any time of the day is better or worse, one thing that is that most of the famous bodybuilders and like the most renowned fitness people do work out in the morning. And it's just like what they say too. Most successful people wake up early. Early
Mhm.
bird gets the worm. That's not to say you can't be successful if you wake up late, but there is a trend. Something to be noted there. I'm sure there's other variables in play, but
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
the research on it is not like it's not foolproof.
Yeah, I mean, I don't find it more. I find it obviously it's incredibly convenient, to be able to just kind of give yourself that extra hour in the morning. And sure, the extra hour of sleep is nice too, but I find myself a lot of
Right.
times just going to bed earlier, and that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah.
But um, I like I said, I have recently started, and Drake, I can give you props. I appreciate you
Mhm.
pushing me every day. At least you have been for the past few weeks now, just asking me if I ran every day or gone on the treadmill every morning. And
Yeah.
it's all for me. It's all about habits. It's something that
Mhm.
I have not. So I played football for 12 years straight, from basically Pee Wee up and through high school, and then graduated and then stopped cold. So for me
Nice.
it was weight training every single day. You know what I mean? For high school and stuff, it was in the school gym doing all that stuff, and then I had that routine and I was comfortable in that routine. But now I'm out of that routine, and it's just all about kind of, I have to break that habit to get back into that for myself. I know that I want to do that for myself so that I can
Mhm.
kind of preserve myself and live longer. I understand that's a big thing. I definitely haven't in my 20s definitely did not eat healthy, so I definitely wouldn't prefer to,
A lot of people rarely do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's the hardest thing is creating that habit of doing this. I mean, just in general for anything, whether it's working out, counting your calories. I mean, waking up at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time. Um, anything.
Yeah.
it's all
The
discipline.
hardest part is
Well, because
it's creating
at
that
the end
that
of the
habit of
at the end of the day, fitness and being healthy like that, especially when it comes to something like bodybuilding, it's a lifestyle.
it. Mhm.
You know, people want to go to the gym, and some people just want to get ripped and then stop going to the gym, but it's impossible. You don't get ripped unless it's a lifestyle, and you're putting in your time and effort consistently doing it to the point that you start to enjoy it. You really do.
Right.
But also in the morning, that's when you have the most energy. And
Yeah.
I honestly think it's better to work out in the morning too, because then you get like an energy boost the rest of the day
Yep.
as
Yeah.
well,
Definitely.
that trails you. My
That's how I
problem
feel
is
as
that I'm a
well.
night owl. I like to stay up late, and
Yeah.
because of that, I don't have time in the morning to do it. Kind of a trade there.
Right.
I think we all kind of are at least I can be to a fault. I can be a night owl, especially on the weekends. You know what I mean? But it all comes down
Oh,
to that
definitely.
discipline.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Friday, Saturday, I usually stay
Yeah.
up pretty darn late. And
yeah, same.
that's because again the time difference for everybody. Sean lives in California. Well, you know where we are at, so there's that 3 hour delay. So if I do want to do anything with those guys, I do have to stay up
Right.
a little later, than my normal time.
One thing
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
will say though is that the thing that is going to work for you the best, and the thing that will stick with you the most, that a lot of people don't realize is, in order to create a consistent lifestyle, it has to be something that you enjoy. For
Mhm.
example, like that's why I believe calorie counting is the best way to do it, because calorie counting is could also be seen as what's called flexible dieting, which means that you have a set amount of calories that you're going to eat in a day and a set amount of macros, and you can use those however you want as long as you stay within those guidelines. And when people do that, then they could still eat the foods they like. Some days they might compromise, like some days, like if even when I was cutting, I could still eat pizza. I could still have like a cake or some wings. If I knew I was going to meet up with some friends at night and pig out somewhere, I would just eat light during the day. I'd have like a when I was cutting for breakfast, for example, I was eating about 1,800 calories a day. And for breakfast, I was just doing like a double scoop of protein shake. That's about like 240 calories. For lunch, I was doing a mini bowl from Flame Broiler at work, and that's like 350 calories. And then I'd have like 11 to 1,200 calories left over by the time dinner time came, and I would use that to pig out on whatever I wanted to. I could even
Mhm.
have fast food if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorite things to make is I make these little pizookies. I'll just put some cookie dough down. I weigh it out. I got a food scale. I'll put 2.5 ounces of cookie dough. I'll put it in the oven for 17 minutes at 350. It'll come out perfect. And I'll put like 100 grams, which is approximately one scoop of ice cream on top of that. And it's delicious. And
Anybody
most
listening,
people don't think that they could ever eat something like that
right?
when they're
Yeah,
cutting. Like you could do that and you could lose weight if you just count your calories, But instead, what a lot of people do is they'll go on these extreme diets where they'll do something that is not, what's the word? They'll do something that's unsustainable for them, and they'll tough it out for a few weeks, maybe even a few months if they're really good. But at the end of the day, they'll usually give up sooner rather than later because, let's face it, no one wants to live miserably like that, And that's why things like the avocado diet like will never work in the end, because my friend lost like 15 pounds doing the avocado diet, but then the moment she stopped, within 7 days, she gained all
Yeah.
those 15
Because she
pounds
realized how
back.
much she
And it's
enjoyed food.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
she had gotten to her goal weight, and then she was like, okay, now I'm at my goal weight. I can go back to living my life the way I wanted to live it. And boom, it came back just like that. So it's like, if you wanted to, for her in that example, if she wanted to keep the weight that she had gotten to, she would have to eat avocados indefinitely, forever. You know what I mean? It's not sustainable. She didn't enjoy it. No one's going to enjoy that. Let's be honest. But with flexible dieting, which is counting calories, the reason why you can do it forever, I've been counting calories probably about 4 or 5 years from now. 4 or 5 years now. I can open up my Fitness Pal and literally scroll back and show you everything I've eaten in the last 5 years, more or less. And the reason why I was able to keep it consistent for that long is because I enjoy it. I can eat whatever I want most of the time. Like when I'm
right.
cutting really hard, like, yeah, I might have to be more careful, but when I'm bulking, it's like the world is my oyster.
Yeah,
I can't get enough food. In fact, at the top of my bulks, because my life is basically a pattern of gaining 20 pounds and losing 20 pounds over and over again throughout the span of like months. And um, what I've learned is that from gaining and losing those 20 pounds over and over again, you can do it really easily if you just count your calories and eat the foods that you like. I I
Yeah.
kind of lost my thought just now.
Well, let me chime in on that. I know you explained it pretty decently, but anybody that doesn't know, Pazookies are from a restaurant named BJ's in
Oh,
California, and it's he said it, but it's a freshly cooked cookie with a scoop of ice cream on top, and they're fucking amazing. And
Unless
you
you're
can cook them
unless you're
long.
listening from California, which in regards, then you know exactly what he's
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
So
yeah. But yeah, so anybody fucking make it and eat it because it's fucking delicious. It's one of the best things you can ever have.
oh yeah,
In that regard of you would just mention that you cut and then you bulk and then you cut and then you bulk and then you cut and then you bulk again. In that regard, so let's go into why you're constantly cutting and why you're constantly bulking, and then let's go into before that. Let's just say for anybody listening, like what is a good calorie deficit to go into? Like if you let's say 2,500 calories is your balance
TDEE.
is your TDEE. Do you want to shoot down? Like, do you want to go all the way down to 1,600? Is 2,400 calories enough? Or or if you're bulking, is 20 is if your 25 is your baseline, is 2,600 enough? Or do you need to shoot up to 3,000 calories? Like, obviously the bulking it depends on how active you are as well. If you're running a shit ton and you're trying to bulk, you're going to need to
Yeah,
really increase a lot of that. But
yeah.
same
No,
with
that's a
same
good
with
question.
cutting. But let's go ahead and tell us what really we should aim for
Yeah,
cut wise.
optimally, I would say that somewhere between a 10 to 20% calorie deficit, so 10 to 20% below your total daily energy expenditure (TDEE), would be the sweet spot for losing weight for losing weight while minimizing muscle loss and maximizing fat loss. Meanwhile, the bulk is right about the same too. A 10 to 20% increase in your calories coupled with resistance training will give you the optimal ratio of gaining weight through muscle and not through fat. And the reason why and the reason why is because if you eat more, let's say for the bulk, if you eat more than 20% your TDEE, which is what a lot of people like to do because they're like they don't know any better and they're like, I'm dirty bulking, bro. Like I'm gonna get huge. I'm just gonna fucking eat as much as I can. But the thing is after a certain amount, you can only gain so much muscle every single week. And it's not a whole lot that you can gain every week either. If you are eating past a certain point, there's a certain point where any calories above that are just going to be stored as fat.
Mm.
Losing weight, there is a certain point where anything below a certain number, you're going to lose muscle whether you're trying your ass off or not. And that 10 to 20% region is that sweet spot. The way I keep track of it, which is a pretty easy way to do it, is I try to make it so that I don't gain or lose more than 2 pounds a week during either a cut or a bulk. And
Mm.
what they say is that if you are losing more than 2 pounds a week, there's no way you're maintaining your muscle mass. You're going to be losing a good amount of muscle. And if you're gaining more than 2 pounds a week, there's no way that you're gaining more than 2 pounds of muscle every single
Mm.
week. In fact, you're not even gaining 2 pounds of muscle a week, probably.
Right.
So that's why you want to keep it around that 10 to 20% so you can optimize that body composition, keep the fat low and the muscle high. It's all about burning the fat and feeding the muscle.
Perfect. Um,
I want to get that
so that's I
tattooed
mean
on my body.
that's yeah, so, so
Fuck,
that's
dude.
that so that's exactly what you want to do, and that's honestly the easiest portion of it for anybody wanting to lose weight or gain weight. So we've talked about like a little bit of here, like most people have either like a set game plan, like they want to lose weight or they want to just gain weight. One of the two. Most people want to lose weight then gain weight overall. Like Luke here wants to lose weight, but for people like you that do like enjoy working out and want to start working out, and so why is it that you do a bulk and then a cut and then a bulk and then a cut? Why don't you just bulk
Mm,
continuously, to
yeah,
gain muscle mass, right? You if you want to gain muscle mass, you would think you want to just continuously bulk, right? So
right.
why is it you do a bulk and then a cut in there? I mean, it seems kind of counteractive,
Yeah,
you know.
that's a good question. I get a lot of people, especially at work, when
Mhm.
people find out that my life is basically a series of going up and down 20 pounds over and over again. They're like, "Why?"
Yeah.
Why would you put yourself through that? What is the point of like going from my range is usually 140 to 160 pounds in body weight. So like, what's the point of being going down to 140, then going up to 160, then back to 140, and up to 160? Like you're just
Are
in
you
the
currently
same
cutting,
spot.
or are you currently cutting right now? Or
Bulking right
your
now.
bulk? Okay.
Bulking, I'm at about 150, I would say, and I started my bulk at around 144 when I usually started at 140, but I had a reason why I did that, and I can get into it later. But it's because
Yeah.
of a muscle gain, muscle loss. We'll talk about that a little later
Yeah,
because
we can get into that later
it's a
on. Yeah.
lot to explain. But to keep it simple, the idea is that single time that you bulk and cut, the goal is that when you reach the height of your bulk again, so when I go back to 160 pounds, the goal is that I want to have less body fat at the top of my bulk than I did the last time I was at the top of my bulk. So I'm trying to build as much muscle as possible going up to 160, and I'm gaining some fat along the way.
Mhm.
There's no way I can avoid that. There's no way you can avoid that if you're taking drugs or steroids or something. But I do it all natural. I gain as much muscle with some fat 60, and then the idea is to shred as much fat as you can all the way down to 140 without losing muscle. You will lose some muscle no matter what, but you can really minimize and optimize that amount. And then when you get back down to the bottom of your cut, you're going to be you were the last time. Because when you're at the bottom of your cut, you're supposed to, I try to cut down to 10% body fat. And when you get to 10% body fat, you'd be surprised. You'll look scrawny.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
But every time I go back down to the bottom, I'm a little less scrawny. And every time I go all the way back up to the top, I'm a little more lean. And yeah, and this is why I tell people too, your goal shouldn't necessarily be in pounds. Instead, a more accurate goal, and this is just
Like
in
percentage.
regards to bodybuilding, your goal should be around body fat percentage. Because you can have two guys that are the exact same weight, but they could look completely different. One guy could be what's called skinny fat, and
Yeah.
one guy could have
You cut out there for a little bit. Oh.
Oh,
Oh no, we lost him.
we lost him. So while we're waiting for him to come back,
We can hear you still, Sean. There we
there
go.
we go.
Okay.
I accidentally exited.
Oh.
That's okay.
Okay. So perfect. I mean that makes a ton of sense. So when you're working out while doing that, do you change your workouts at all? Would you maybe go from a high intensity low rep or high weight low rep when you're bulking, and then would you maybe change it to a low weight high rep when you're cutting? Is that like a thing you do? How much variation do you have, or how much
Yeah.
variation do you do when you're working out? We've talked pretty decently about like eating, and that eating is counting calories. Is that the probably the best thing, that the form first and foremost thing that you should do to either lose weight or gain weight. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but on to like working out here now. In that regard, how do you work out? Pretty much. How
So
do you
there's
you know?
there's a lot of controversy behind it, and the research is inconclusive. Generally speaking, most people believe that the the higher amount of reps that you do, the less amount of weights you'll be pulling because you can't do 20 reps of the heaviest weight you could possibly do. And a lot of people say that high rep will basically help you tone, and then that's like hypertrophy training, which
Yeah.
hypertrophy is to like, well, they say they say the sweet spot for hypertrophy, which is muscle building basically, is 8 to 12 reps, that range. And then they say the ideal for strength training, which to increase your strength, not necessarily your muscle size, but it's more focused on your strength. That's um like a 2 to 5 rep range. And then anything above, and then people who do like 20 reps of super lightweight, that's basically just cardio with weights, in my opinion. But how I do it though, so I did a lot of research because I worked out for, let's say, like, I don't know, like 11 or like maybe like 8 to 10 years without understanding the science behind it, and I didn't really get anywhere. And then I read a book. I read a bunch of books and
You
did
were
research.
plateauing a lot, right?
Yeah, I was. And then after I had kind of figured it out, I realized I figured it out because I had gained more. I had made more progress in 1 year than I had in the previous 10 years. And that's when I realized, I was like, holy, this is it right here. This is what I never understood before. And I've done a bunch of research on it, but long story short, for a long time, I just recently changed it up, but not
Mhm,
by much. I was doing a 4 to 6 rep range.
mhm,
So a 4 to 6 rep range, lift more than 6 reps per set is too light. But if I can't get 4 reps per set, too heavy. Truly, after a couple of weeks of testing this out, you will find that you fit in a certain level of weight, not body weight, but like pull, is going to fit in that 4 to 6 rep range. And whatever that amount of weight is generally going to be 80% of your 1 rep max. So your 1 rep max is like
mhm.
your 1 rep max. It's how much weight you
Yep.
can do one time. If you were to theoretically decrease that weight by 20%, you would end up in the 4 to 6 rep range. A lot of people say that that 4 to 6 rep range is meant for strength only, and that people who do that bigger, they'll just get stronger. And I know that might sound a little contradictory, but you gotta think of it like farmer strength. Have you ever heard
Mhm.
of farmer
Oh
strength,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
farmers
Oh
are
yeah.
skinny yet they're
Yep.
impossibly strong somehow? That's like the concept of strength training there, because they're doing things like they are doing compound lifts where they have to like. I'm not a farmer. I've never been on a farm, but let's just say they're like lifting like a bale of hay and throwing it
Yep.
into whatever, or having
Yeah.
to like
I
move
mean that's
livestock in some way.
Yeah. That's all
yeah.
pretty
I mean
pretty
It's
valid.
hard
that's
Yep.
work out there. Like, I'm
yeah.
sure
Oh
that they're like
definitely.
the most manually intensive labor jobs are like farmers and other people like that, and that's why they're so strong too. But what I've come to realize recently is, so uh, I've trained a lot of people, not like professionally or anything. They've all been mostly friends for free because I just enjoy talking about it and I
Mhm.
enjoy doing it. And the one thing I realized is that they say that they say 12 is the optimal range for building muscle. If you don't really
10,
care about the strength, and
10 to 12.
don't get me wrong, yeah, because that's hypertrophy. And
Mhm.
most people, yes, they care about their strength. Most guys want to be strong, but more than that, most guys just want to have like a, a great physique, like a Greek god. Like, that's the
Yeah.
goal. Like, I mean, would you rather have like a decent body but be like one of the strongest guys, or like be a little above average strength but then like look like The Rock or something? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
everyone's
I'm
gonna want to strive for that like god physique. And
Yeah. The
there actually
Adonis
is
look. Yeah.
there actually is a perfect physique, and not to say that anything is or isn't perfect, but um have you ever heard of the Vitruvian Man?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because he's
no.
the golden ratio.
So you know what the Vitruvian Man is, Luke, even though you don't recognize me saying it. Because if you've ever seen a
Yeah.
picture of that Leonardo, it was Leonardo da Vinci,
Yep.
the drawing, or was it Michelangelo? I don't remember, but the drawing of a man in a circle and he's naked and he's got his
Oh yep.
arms out,
Yep. Yep.
the Vitruvian Man. And what that drawing is based off of is the perfect physique based off of
Uh,
certain ratios on your body.
I was
Um,
gonna
I,
pull it up
I,
on that and share my screen so everybody could see it on like the computer here. But all pictures have his fucking ding dong out, so I don't think we can do that.
Yeah. We don't get monetized. Just
So
but
look
just
up
look it
peanut.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've all seen it. It's yeah. He said it's the dude
look up
standing there.
Dickless
So
Vitruvius
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's all based off of like it's all based off of measurements.
Mhm.
I don't know everything about it, but I know it has to do with the measurement circumference of your wrist and your ankle. And it's like the ratio of like I don't know, the ratio of your bicep width and your quad or thighs compared to the circumference of your ankle. Michelangelo or Da Vinci or whoever
It
it
was
was
Da
that
Vinci,
drew
yeah.
Da Vinci, when Da Vinci drew that, he drew it for what you said, the golden ratio, which was his definition of what the, I guess, ideal physique like on a human being.
Little further on that, the golden ratio, which Da Vinci used to draw this that picture with 1.618. It's actually a very 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 like reoccurring um, aspect ratio in nature, in just in everything around us. So you'll see like flower petals are all follow that golden ratio. If you ever see that square,
Yeah.
the square gets getting bigger as it goes around, and you see that spiral coming through. You've seen that's a picture of the golden ratio
Yeah.
in going in square.
The you're talking about that thing that looks like this seashell, right?
Yeah, yep,
And it's
yep,
like
yep.
almost like a conch or
Yeah,
not a
like a conch.
conch, but like a
Yeah,
almost like a snail shell, and it
yeah,
like circles
exactly.
in.
Which again,
Yeah.
snail shell is another example that used the golden ratio. I think it was bees' wings to body or circumference or something like that is the golden ratio as well.
Yeah.
The Milky Way galaxy is about the size done in the golden ratio.
And that freaks you out, doesn't it? That just
Yeah,
blows.
so it's
That's
it's
beyond
all over
that's beyond
nature.
comprehension.
At an atomic level, there's patterns in
Mhm.
nature, in everything, in the wall behind you, in the ground you stand on. It's crazy. It's almost like we're living in the Matrix. Some people think of it
A
as
lot
the
of people think
Matrix.
that, yeah.
Some people think of it as evidence of divine creation. But it's unexplainable. I don't know. It's math, I guess.
Yep, it's
Math
math.
is a
That's
part of
exactly it.
natural
Yeah.
law and physics, just like everything else is.
So
But,
so go ahead, bud.
I never finished thought about the rep range. Right now,
yeah,
I'm
yep,
doing
yeah.
a 5 to 7 rep range,
Mhm.
and the reason why I'm doing that, a lot of people advocate for a 10 to 12 rep range. They'll say that's the best place to build muscle, but I got most of my results doing the 4 to 6, and for a long time, I was thinking I trained a lot of friends, and I had been thinking about training people for money professionally, and I thought to myself, well, if I started training these people, what rep range would I have them do? Because everyone and their mothers say that 10 to 12 is the right one, but for me, I strongly felt that it worked for the 4 to 6 rep range. So I did a bunch of research trying to like dig in on that and find out, is one truly better than the other? And if you do your research, you'll actually find that, um, in a nutshell, say between 6 to what was it? I think let's just say like 6 to like 15, somewhere around 15. I know it starts at 6. I think it ends around 15, and somewhere between that range, anywhere between that range, is more or less going to get you the same amount of muscle. I think that 12 might be a little more optimal in some ways, but you can still gain basically the same amount of muscle doing 6 reps or above set. And the reason why I choose the lower weight, I recently went, so I was doing 4 to 6, and a lot of people were trying to tell me that I should do 8 to 10, and I did my research, and I was like, I see the benefits of 8 to 10, but I don't want to give up my 4 to 6, so I went from
Right.
4 to 6 to 5 to 7. So I was like, I'm
Yeah.
going to increase it a little bit, but I
Jump
don't
up a
want to
little bit.
lose the roots of what I'm doing. And the reason why I don't want to go higher is because, so my whole workout revolves around progressive overload, and this is a really, really important term when it comes to bodybuilding. Probably the most important one when it comes to what you do at the gym. Progressive overload is basically systematically increasing the amount of weight that you are doing, or improving your exercise. So for example, let's say you're doing 10, let's say you're doing 50 pounds on something, right? Let's say you're doing like a 50-pound dumbbell bench press. You do a 4 to 6 rep range, 3 sets per exercise. So let's say I do these 50 pounds, and the first week I do it, I get like 2 sets of 5 and 1 set of 4. So I'm 5, 5, 4. I do 3 sets per exercise. you can play around with that. I wouldn't recommend less than 3, but you can do less than 3. But I would recommend 3 to 5 sets. Personally, I do 3, and I'll tell you why. Um, say you're benching 50 pounds on dumbbells, and you do 3 sets, 5, 5, 4. Week you do 5, 5. Week you do 6, 6, 5.
Mhm.
And the next week, hit 6, 6, 6. So now you have completed sets of 6
Now you're a
perfectly formed
sadist.
reps. Now, like I said, if you can lift more than 6, you do your 50 pounds, 3 sets of 6. So I'm like, wow, I did 50 pounds, 3 sets of 6. So now next week, I get to upgrade. I'm going to go from 50-pound dumbbells to 55-pound dumbbells. And that next week, I get 4, 4 because I increased I increased the weight I was pushing. And then about 1 to 2 to 3 weeks later, I'm back at 3 sets of 6 again. So now I'm like, okay, I'm at 55. Now I'm going to 60. And then it knocks me back down 4, 4, 4.
Mhm.
That system is a perfect example of progressive overload because you have a systematic template that you are using to guarantee that you are increasing weight. And also, uh, indispensable tool that I have is I have a tiny little book that I take with me. It's just like a flip book that's you can tear pages out and it's just got lines on it. And I write down everything that I do. And I do it in the exact same order every time I go there. And I write down 60 pounds times 60 pounds times 5, 60 pounds times 4. So that's 5, 5, 4, 3 sets, 5 rep, 5 rep, 4 rep. And that's how I know, okay, I'm not quite to the next level yet, but I'm almost there. And that's how I know that, like, oh, I got 6, 6, 6 this week. I'm going to go up. Um, why I was doing 4 to 6 is because it is a lot less effort and a lot easier to level up when you're doing 4 to 6. Because let's face it, me, I feel like I could do 6 reps of almost anything.
Yeah.
But if I was doing 15 reps, do you know how hard it would be to go up? Do you know how hard it would be to get 15 reps 3 times in a row perfectly? It would take me longer to work my way up from like to work my way that far up in order to move up.
Mm.
I'd be moving up half the amount of time. Like let's say you're deadlifting
Right.
like 315 pounds. You're doing 10 reps per set. Good luck getting 10, 10, and 10. It's going to take you a
Yeah.
month maybe.
Yeah.
But if you're doing sets of 4 to 6, you can probably get that in 2 weeks. And honestly, when I left high school, I was benching maybe like 45 or 50-pound dumbbells. And like I said, I did that shit forever, and I never saw any progress. And then when I started implementing that 4 to 6 routine, I was going up like every other week. And by the end of the year, right now I'm benching 100-pound dumbbells, and I never ever thought in my entire life that and I'm 31 years old,
Yeah.
and that's double what I was doing when I was like in high school, when I was 21 or 17 or whatever. I never thought that I would be significantly more fit and stronger than I was in high school. And then I did this, and I at first I was like, let's just see where it goes.
Yeah.
And then I got there, and I was just like, I was amazed. I never thought that I would make it that far. I'm doing like everything I'm doing right now. It's 5 to 7, but like again, I just started that recently, like a few weeks ago. For the last
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
years, last 4 or 5 years,
It's 4 to 6.
4 years, I was doing 4 to 6, and I got to like 330. I'm at 335 on the deadlift, which I never
Mhm.
ever. One time in college, I did 315 for 1 rep, and I almost killed myself. And I was like, damn, I didn't think. I know for sure I'll never be able to hit that again.
Yeah.
And then, a couple of
Lo
years
and
ago,
behold.
315, I was doing 3 sets of 6 of that. And I was like, this is too light. I need to go up.
Yeah.
So that system of progressive overload ultimately is what is going to be the producer of results. No matter what rep range you're doing between 6 and 15, if you are not progressively overloading, the magic is not really happening. I mean, no matter what, if you're going to the gym and you're working out and you're trying hard, it's better than not doing it, and you will make
Yeah.
results. But I'm talking about optimization. For me, I don't want to waste my time and energy and effort there at the gym. And I don't want to bust my ass for a little reward. I want to receive back as much as possible with, I guess, the least amount of energy as possible to achieve that. And
Yeah,
for me,
makes sense.
that's that 4 to 6. And I got to a point where I was like, I was lifting more than like probably almost everyone I knew who I hung out with. And I was like, guys, look at this. And I started
Yeah,
getting
who's
all my
working out with
friends
you?
on it too. All of my friends, they started getting the same results too. They started lifting weights that no one else could lift. And they were like, I never thought I'd ever get this strong. And big too. They got big as well. Because again, yeah, like the lower rep ranges focus more on strength, but between 6 and 15, you are aggressive overload correctly, you will gain muscle optimally, more optimally than you would with any other BS route, any other way of going to the gym. Because
Yeah.
before I started doing this routine, what I used to do, and I used to do this with you too when we were in high
Yeah.
school, because
Yeah.
we would mob it to the gym with all of our friends,
Yeah.
and we would
Oh, yeah.
basically show up and just say, "What do I feel like working out today?
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
know,
oh,
like we do triceps today. Why don't we do
yeah.
chest today? We'll just choose whatever we want. No consistency. Um, we would do random workouts every single time. Like one one chest 1 week could look completely different than chest the next week, and that's a mistake too. Because for my routine, I try to keep variables as consistent as possible. So that means when you have like I got 6 exercises I do, right? I always do them in that specific order because you want progressive overload. So you want to increase your strength. But the thing is if you start with like squats, let's say, and then you do like leg press, and then you do like leg extension, whatever, you have your weights and your reps that you know you can do week in and week out, and you're slowly
Yeah.
making progress. Well, if you showed up 1 week and you reversed it, leg extensions first, and then you did leg press, and then you did squat, you're gonna find out that squat the same amount that you do when you do squat first. You know, the
Yeah.
leg extension, you're going to be lifting way more on the leg extension if you do it first than if you do it last. And that's why you want to really keep that consistency. I know a lot of people preach muscle confusion where they're like, you
Yeah.
gotta just like,
I,
boom, throw it
I
in
was just
there,
about to bring
never
that
let
up.
them know
Yeah.
your next move.
Yeah.
There is some truth to that. Truth is that you should change it up a little bit every few months, I'd say. But I
Hmm.
don't move away from an exercise until I have gained levels on that exercise. Like I
Right.
want to go up because every time I do 3 sets of 6, I get to go up. It's leveling up. I want to level up times, like at least like 3 times. Some of them I've gone up like 10 times on them, and that's when I'm hitting like records that I've never hit before. You know.
Right. 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 Right.
But you want to level up and master that exercise before you move on. But once you've mastered that exercise, then that's where that muscle confusion comes
Yeah.
in because it's like, okay, so I know I'm like at leg press, right? I can do this no problem. I've gone up 10 times and now like I've experienced diminishing returns because in the beginning you can go up every other week. But if you think about it, if you were to go up every other week consistently for years, you'd be lifting an unhumanly amount of weight. It would be
Right.
impossible.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
going to
You'd
be
be.
diminishing returns. So once you start to hit those diminishing returns where it's like I haven't gone up in like a month. I haven't gone up in like 2 months on the leg press. Swap out the leg press. Swap it out for something that works the same muscle but a completely different
Different
exercise.
way. Yeah.
And then level up on there. That is how you will optimize the most out of the work that you put in so that you're not hitting the gym for like a whole year just to come out with like a quarter of a pound of more muscle.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah. You're not wasting your time.
that's how you avoid spinning your wheels and
Yeah.
and
No.
burning out and quitting because you're like, this is
Right.
BS.
Well, I
I'm
haven't seen
tired
any.
of
I
it.
haven't seen any
You
changes.
know,
Yeah.
when
There.
you see
Now there.
results, that's gonna motivate you.
Yeah. Oh,
You'll never
100%.
want to stop. Never stop.
Well, it's
Keep seeing results.
that's another reason why it's nice to just write down what you're doing take measurements of yourself as well,
Mhm.
and then follow up on measurements. Because
Oh
then,
yeah,
because when
I
you
can
look at
show you
yourself every
everything
single
I've done.
day, yeah, when you look at yourself every single day, it's hard to notice any changes that happen to you because you're seeing those changes every single day. So it all looks normal to you
I take a
constantly.
picture once a month.
Yeah.
I'll see the picture, and it'll say something like April 2023, 50 pounds, 14% body fat, and that'll be
Yeah.
my April picture.
Mhm.
And that way I can go through and see one picture every month, and I can prove that it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Okay.
you can
photos
easily
don't
see your
lie.
changes. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good to
Yeah.
do. Okay. Well,
Um,
that's yeah. Okay.
it's a super big thing to help out for people because that's the biggest demotivator with working out is that you don't think there's any changes happening, or
No
you're not
results. Yeah.
you're not you're ready to move up, you're ready to level up in that weight, but you're just not because you don't know like when to level up, or what you're doing. So you
Mhm.
think you're doing the same weight for 2 months. You don't you look at the scale and you see the same weight on the scale as well, like, oh man, I
And you're like,
still
what
weigh
am I doing
150, like
wrong?
what's going on, well, you could be losing that body fat and you could be gaining that muscle, and that's transitioning over there at that point. But unless you take a picture of yourself or measure yourself, you won't ever see that
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
um John,
By the
one thing
way,
here.
oh, go
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead.
I
um
was gonna say, I was gonna say that progressive overload can be applied in so many ways that you might not even realize. You can even apply it to running, where it's like I can run. For example, I could sprint for, let's say, I can sprint for 30 seconds as hard as I can, and I can rest for about 1 minute, sprint for another 30 seconds. Try to shrink the amount of time that you rest, so it's like resting 45 seconds instead of a minute, but I'm still sprinting. Let's say 15 seconds, because that's what I was actually doing, and it's more realistic. Because
yeah,
if you're sprinting as hard as you
30
can,
seconds
30
is a good
seconds is a
fucking,
long
yeah,
time.
good. 30
Yeah.
seconds is
I
a
can run
fucking
a
good go, man. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do a soccer field in about 15 seconds, I would say. And then I rest for about like a minute and a half. And then the idea is that, okay, I want to change my rest from being a minute and a half to a minute and 15, then to a minute, and then to 45 seconds, 30 seconds, and
mhm,
then
mhm.
pod, then you're doing 15 seconds of rest and 15 seconds of sprint. But that whole process is progressive overload. It's just
Yeah,
a
just
systematic way of increasing or improving your exercise, and that you can document and prove that you are making progress. And that's why I have the book. I can tell you what I do works because I can flip through the pages and show you what I was doing six
right.
months ago.
Yeah, you have the
You
proof
know,
of
and I
it
can flip through the
100%.
pages and show you the steady increase in progress that I've been doing. It's quantifiable.
Yeah, yeah, it's easily seeable.
Okay.
So what I was going to get to here is on workouts. You hear a lot of like eccentric motion or concentric motion, and you hear these people like, oh, if you're not making any gains in this area, focus on eccentric motion. Focus on the eccentric motion of your bicep curl. You want to focus on the letdown of the bicep curl. Is that actually something that you is that an actual area that's good to focus on, is eccentric or concentric motion, or is just a standard bicep curl up and down um gonna be fine either way, like, is
Okay,
that something?
so this I don't have science to prove this, so I will
Mhm,
just tell you my personal opinion on it.
mhm,
My personal opinion through my experience is that when it comes to like those things like eccentric and other like kind of neat tricks that you can do,
yep,
I think that those are most useful to people who have been working out for a long time, who have seen a lot of gains, and who now struggle to gain muscle, because
mhm,
they say that your first year of working out, you can gain something crazy like 25 pounds of muscle.
yep, yeah,
But
newbie gains,
every
yeah,
single year it's going to decrease, because just like your increase in strength, there's a diminishing return, because otherwise if you were consistently increasing, then you'd reach an inhuman number. You know
yep,
what I mean? Like
yep,
if
yep.
you were to gain 25 pounds every year, you'd be disproportionately
Yeah,
large.
you'd
Yeah.
be a
It's just
fucking
not
blob, dude.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, you look like the
Yeah.
blob from um X-Men. Wolverine,
Yeah.
Wolverine Origins.
Yeah.
You know.
Or
Well,
one of
that
those
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, sorry.
like float their muscles with like plastic surgery, and it
Oh,
just
with
looks like
the
Oh
stupid. Like
my
there's
God, it's
no
synthol,
way that
ridiculous.
that's
synthol
real.
injectors.
It's
Everyone knows
Synthol
that
ridiculous.
that's
injectors.
not humanly possible. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So every year it's less. The more experienced you are, the harder it is. You get diminishing returns. That's
yeah.
when you can start to implement things like eccentric exercises. Not to
Mhm.
say that they won't necessarily help you before
In the
you get to that
beginning,
point,
yeah,
but for beginners especially, I'm like, dude, enjoy yourself. Literally, you could, as long as you're practicing progressive overload, you could be doing almost consistently, and you'll gain like massive amounts of muscle mass if you're doing
yeah,
it right. If your calories are, if all these things are right. I personally wouldn't worry about it until later. Only now have I started to actually, because I've been working out for about 4, 5. Well, I've been working out for a lot longer, but I've been working
yeah,
out this optimal way for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've started to reach some caps too. Like my deadlift, I was going up super fast. Now at around 335, the progress has slowed a lot. It's really
yeah,
hard. I still want to gain
yeah,
size, but I'm having trouble increasing. So I start to do. That's why I started to. That's why I do the 5 to 7 now, because I'm like, if it's getting to the amount of weight that's so hard that I almost feel like I'm like dying every time I'm doing this weight, I gotta start implementing other strategies, such as more. You guys,
you're good. You're good. Oh, your battery died.
but I got.
Hey.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yep, you're good. Can you hear? Can
Oh,
you hear
you're
us?
muted now.
Yeah. So
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
recently I have been debating, and I haven't done it yet
Mhm.
because there was a time where I swore to God I would never do these again. But for certain muscle groups, I had been starting to um, incorporate machines. And
Mhm.
for the longest time, I was very against machines. I mean, machines aren't bad for you, but they are the least optimal, in my opinion, because free weight is superior. You are
Yeah.
using stabilizing muscles that you don't have to on a machine, because a machine will force you into the correct posture most of the time. It takes away the effort of stabilizing yourself,
Yeah.
and you don't get the gains from stabilizing yourself. But after a while, like, you get pretty solid, and it's like, now my problem is like right now, one of my problems is I want to get my lats bigger. I want to have like
Yeah. Yeah.
wings. You see those
Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram videos where
Yeah.
people go like that,
Like
and they got these
yeah.
like
Well,
freaking
for like
huge wings there, right?
to try to open your wings up like that, that's a hard muscle to like flex, not in a specific way. Like I can only flex it when I'm going like that. But you're supposed to put your like I can't even flex that way yet.
Yeah, and honestly, my lats, when I do that, they're not that big compared to
Yeah.
influencers that you'll see or whatever.
Right.
But I'm like, how can I get my lats bigger? Well, I'm already doing like on the deadlift, and yes, I can keep increasing on the deadlift, but it's slow now to
Yeah.
increase on that. So how can I make my lats bigger when I can't move up fast on the deadlift, and I've almost mastered most of the other free weight back exercises? Well, that's when you might want to start incorporating things like eccentric exercises or
Mhm.
machines that
Machines,
don't
the
work out
target.
the other muscles in your back,
Yeah.
because it forces you to, because machines are isolating. They
Yep.
isolate a muscle, while free weight is more compound, which means it works several muscles out. So now my back is pretty big, but my lats full on wings like some of these guys, right? So that's when I start to consider, maybe I should start doing machines that will isolate that muscle, so that now I am purely working out that muscle, working out all the muscles back there, and my lats are just getting like a little bit of XP from the
Yeah.
participation of that.
Yeah.
You know what
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
But
Um.
Alrighty.
I wouldn't really recommend that stuff until you've already like milestones
Yeah.
in the
Hit
amount of
everything.
weight you can lift in ratio to your body weight.
Well,
So
it's
you're more
definitely
experienced.
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's definitely
Before you
some
tap out the gains in the other areas.
Yeah. Definitely makes
But
sense.
that's just my
So
personal opinion.
yeah. So basically, like an
Who knows science
overview
to prove?
here. Yeah. So basically, an overview here is though. So for anybody that's wanting to either gain weight or lose weight, the simplest and the most straightforward thing you should do is calorie counting and keeping yourself in a deficit or a
Yeah.
calorie positive.
Yep.
Gaining
Um,
weight and losing weight is
yeah,
all about calories, not the gym. And if
yeah,
you go to the gym to try to lose weight by exercising, that is a pitfall and a mistake, because I will tell you now, you will never be able to out exercise a bad diet. Even if you go on the treadmill and you bust your ass for an hour and a half, look at the treadmill and see how many calories you burn. Maybe 3 to 500 calories. Well, let me tell you, a 6-inch sandwich from Subway is 700 to
yeah.
800 calories,
It's
depending
like
on what
seven
you're
hundred
getting.
calories. Yeah,
Boom, that negated that whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
You can't out
Yeah.
exercise a bad diet,
Yeah.
yeah.
or you
So
can't
then,
out exercise a calorie surplus
yeah,
It's
before
just
after.
mainly it's mainly focusing on your fats, and it's mainly you can have that bad food. It's just you want to make sure that you're not going over
yeah, yep,
your
Right.
if you have a late breakfast and you're like, I know I'm having McDonald's later, like we don't have much here besides a Dairy Queen and McDonald's and stuff. If you know
Right.
that you're eating out later, if you're having pizza on Friday or whatever, you know, okay, I'm going to eat a light breakfast, I'm going to eat a light lunch, make sure that those two are pretty good for me, because I know that when it comes to dinner, that's going to be my primary source of calories for the day.
Mhm. It's
yeah,
all about calories
yeah.
and macros. And you know, to drive to the point, there was a and tell me if you've heard of this. I feel like Drake, you might have heard of it. That there was a professor at, I can't remember which university, but it was a while ago, a long time ago. There was a professor that proved this because he was overweight and he was able to lose something like 40 to 45 pounds, and his diet was like 90% McDonald's. He was eating
Yeah.
like
Yep.
nothing to
Yeah.
prove
I
the
do
point.
remember that.
He was
Yeah. Yep.
eating nothing but like fast food junk. I think it was literally McDonald's mainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
he
think you're right. It
lost
was
like
McDonald's.
40 pounds off of McDonald's. You know why? Because he was in a calorie deficit the
Yep.
entire time. Now, don't get me wrong, when he
That's
reached the
not good.
bottom of
Yeah.
that 40 pounds, he was like, he was
Yeah.
really unhealthy. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he'll die on
Don't
that
only
kind of
eat
a diet.
McDonald's. You know.
But the point I'm trying to make is that you can get ripped off of junk food. That doesn't necessarily, junk food doesn't necessarily determine whether you can gain muscle or not.
Mm.
That just more determines the nutrition and the health of your body. But your fitness, like your muscle mass, let's say, it's just an input of calories and
Yeah.
macros. That's all it is.
Yeah. So
Alrighty.
then,
Well,
perfect for that. And then for anybody just starting to work out, don't worry about doing any of those crazy style workouts. Don't worry about doing eccentric motion. Don't worry about
No,
doing
consistency.
pyramids
and in
or
fact,
supersets. Just consistency and follow along with it and make sure you're writing down what you're using so to know when you can jump up in weight properly
make
and
sure
you'll
it is
see gains.
vitally important, and especially for beginners. Beginners are lucky, they're special in a way. Have you ever heard of something called
Newbie
newbie
gains.
gains?
Yeah. Yeah.
Newbie gains, the idea is that when you first start practicing that kind of exercise, like a progressive overload weightlifting resistance type of exercise, your body, especially if you're like a skinny dude, or someone with just not a whole lot of muscle mass, your body will start building. You will go through a window that could be anywhere between 3 to 8 months where you could actually be gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time, which someone like me would be impossible to do that because my body is already balanced out. It's like adapted to it. But but to go further on that, typically you are either gaining fat and muscle or you are losing fat and muscle. You cannot be gaining weight and burning fat and building muscle. If you're gaining weight, you're going to be gaining some fat and you're going to be gaining some muscle. You're not going to be losing either of them.
Mhm.
Same with losing weight. When you're losing weight, generally speaking, you are not going to be getting bigger as you are losing body pounds, as you're losing body weight. Every pound you lose is going to be some fat and some
Mhm.
muscle. So you can't get bigger while you're dropping pounds. You can work your ass off as hard as you can for a week at the gym and like feel like super sore and like, damn, I got a really good workout in. But at the end of the week, if you lose 1 pound of body weight by the end of the week, you didn't gain any muscle unless you have the benefits of the newbie gains.
Yep.
And that's why people who are just starting should be even. If I could go back in time, I would be stricter and I'd be way more optimal
Yeah.
because when I first started, I was kind of figuring it out. When I first started this
Yep.
program, I was figuring it out and I was pretty optimal. But I'm looking back on it now and I'm like, man, there's a lot of corrections I've made over the years. And if I could apply all of that now, I would have gotten more benefit because I would have really milked that time where I was experiencing the newbie gains.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
But I think we'll definitely have to do like a part 2 and a part 3 to this. There's a whole lot we can get into. We kind of just basically just covered the very like intro and beginners stuff of this and like what to do when you're just starting out or whatnot.
and I'd love to have you on for more,
definitely.
just
We'd
for the
love to
fuck
have
of
you
it
back
too.
for more.
Yeah,
This was, this is super informational, a little bit more than
Yeah, I love
some of the
talking
other stuff
about
that we do.
fitness,
So
and I love talking about a bunch of other things too. So
yeah, definitely. We'll have you on more often, definitely. But Sean, thank you again for taking the time to do this with us. Luke, I'm not gonna thank you, dude. So that's just. But
yeah, dude. Yeah,
listening.
I appreciate all the insight there, Sean. It was definitely a lot, and I hope everyone here who listens to our podcast can benefit some way, whether they are bodybuilding or they're like me, where they've been spinning their tires for years and are looking to hopefully kind of correct their bodies and make themselves a little bit healthier. So appreciate all your insight in that.
Definitely. And remember, everybody, go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. It's been awesome.
Definitely, dude. Definitely.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.